And welcome to the second round of the NIT. Along Tobacco Road, NC State and Harvard. From sold-out Reynolds Coliseum, Valvano Arena, it is electric once again for this second round matchup. The 6-seed Crimson, regular season champs out of the Ivy League, against the 2-seed NC State out of the ACC. Winner of this game will battle Lipscomb, the 5-seed out of the Atlantic Sun. In the quarterfinals, that game will be played Wednesday night. And a chance to punch your ticket to Madison Square Garden for the winner. Alongside of Paul Biancardi, National Recruiting Director for ESPN, I'm Roy Philpott, an NC State coach led by Markel Johnson and his 26 points in the opening round win against Hofstra last Tuesday.
An explosive scoring guard who creates his own shot. In the one-on-one game, he'll rise up over defenders and knock it down. In the last 3 games, 20 points a game. He leads the Wolfpack. On the other side, for the Crimson, Bryce Aiken was named first-team All-Ivy. Quick, competitive scoring guard. I love the way he runs the show, breaks down a defense, or makes timely shots. He dropped 18 in the win against Georgetown.
First ever meeting between these two schools. 5,500 strong here at Reynolds Coliseum. And away we go in the second round of the NIT. The opening tap controlled by the Crimson. Harvard at 19-11, 10-4 in the Ivy League. Lost to Yale in the championship game. And our first look at Bryce Aiken. 8 on the shot clock, opening possession. And swatted away, 1 second to shoot.
In that first possession, Roy, you see NC State extending their defense, denying passes. They already have 1 deflection. Kevin Keats wants to get 40 each game.
Second season for NC State's head coach. Took him to the dance last year. On the bubble this season. 1 to shoot. The deep triple from Aiken, well short. Good defense by State on the opening possession.
Bryce Aiken was making those shots. Pre-game, we saw him launching them from 25, 30 feet. That time with a little bit of pressure, air ball.
Back led by Torin Dorn, leading scorer and rebounder. A senior, started his career at Charlotte. Johnson really starting to explode the second half of his junior season.
This is a team that is led by Markel Johnson in scoring, but other guys can step up. This guy needs to.
Walker on the offensive glass, rejected at the rim, gets it back. Beverly again launches. And the rebound to Noah Kirkwood, the Ivy League Rookie of the Year. 10 in Crimson as Chris Lewis connects. He's a former ESPN 100 member. Tommy Ambricker has done a remarkable job recruiting to Cambridge, Mass.
Absolutely tremendous job as Johnson goes strong to the hole. That class of 2016 had 4 top 100 players.
Foul goes against Bassey. That's his first.
Take a look at Noah Kirkwood, the Ivy League Rookie of the Year, 4-star recruit. Tommy Ambricker knows he's got a world-class institution academically. He wants to go after the world-class basketball player as well.
I think he's done a great job of selling prospects on what the Harvard brand can do for them, not only in terms of basketball, but of course away from the court.
And he was close with some big names. Wendell Carter went to Duke. Mo Bamba went to Texas. 2 lottery picks.
Yeah, got both of those players on campus. Full court pressure. This is the brand Kevin Keats establishing here in Raleigh. Wisner Perez was bumped, no whistle. And back to NC State. Kevin Keats' second season has done a remarkable job leading this Wolfpack program. High energy. Took UNC Wilmington to the tournament a couple of seasons in a row. Former head coach at Hargrave Military Academy.
And for Harvard, Roy, they have to handle the press and the pressure of Reynolds Coliseum. They also have to be one and done.
One and done, you mean defensive rebounding, as the triple is good from the corner by Dorn.
No, I mean Tommy Ambricker needs to recruit more one and dones. That's a key to tonight's game.
Well, that's a key for everybody.
Come on, defensive glass, they got to clean it up. NC State, they want a high possession game. They need buckets from Braxton Beverly. In 2 seasons, he's got 132 made threes. He's 1 of 15 in the last 7 games. He's really got to step up.
Pump fake by Kirkwood. Baseline jumper short. And tapped out to Markel Johnson.
When Braxton Beverly buries the open jump shot, this NC State team is just different offensively.
Bryce left open, top of the key, and connects.
Love C.J. Bryce, a slashing three-level scorer, 37% from distance. Left too much open.
Kirkwood, contact off the glass, and a chance for three. Walker picks up his first.
Do you sense the pressure and the press by NC State? They want a fast possession, fast-paced game, high possession.
12th NIT appearance for NC State. Opening round win against Hofstra. That was a tough victory here at home, a one-possession game with 30 seconds to play.
It wasn't until the second half till NC State started to pull away. They pounded the offensive glass. 19 in the second half, which led to 29 second chance points. That was the difference. That's what this NC State team does. They beat you up on the glass. They force turnovers, best in the ACC, and they're a high steal team.
Kirkwood with three, 7-5. Johnson off the bounce and the glass.
Well, too easy for NC State to the rim. The hedge was there for the screen, but no help behind the hedge.
Kirkwood foul, attacking. That went on the floor.
See a high ball screen, middle of the floor. Nice hedge by Lewis. But Johnson goes around the hedge, right to the rim. Nobody pulling in and stepping up for Harvard on the weak side.
Had a big ACC tournament, did Markel Johnson. 26 in the win against Hofstra in the first round of the NIT last Tuesday. Second shot for Aiken is off the mark.
Markel Johnson has been getting hot at the right time. Last 3 games, he's led the Wolfpack in scoring at 20 a game. He's doing it at 50%, efficient and hot. It's a good combination.
Here's Walker, the transfer from Sanford. A couple of pump fakes and free throws upcoming.
Wyatt Walker. Big fella inside, 6'9", 240. I just likes the way he backed his man down. He was patient. And then at the end, the little pump fake to get himself to the line.
Walker will be back next season for head coach Kevin Keats. The majority of this roster returns. One more free throw for Walker. It's 66% this season. And Blake Harris coming off the NC State bench.
NC State has a really strong recruiting class coming in next year. They have a stud by the name of Jalen LeCue. Maybe the best athlete in the senior class. He'll play in the backcourt. They call him a baby Russell Westbrook.
Oh, that's a good sign if you're a fan of the pack.
They also have Manny Bates sitting out, shoulder surgery. This team is going to be strong again next year. It's going to be a better team, even though they lose Torin Dorn.
Think about it, too, in the ACC. Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett likely headed to the NBA. North Carolina will have to replace a lot of talent. Free ball off the mark for Juricic. Here comes NC State. So you bring back that key nucleus, you really have an opportunity to make some noise in the rough and rugged Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah, I think you're going to see NC State 9-9 this year in the ACC. They'll be better next year in terms of wins and losses.
Too much mustard on that pass from Aiken. 11-5 NC State. 4 minutes in, the 6-point advantage. Back inside Reynolds Coliseum, a packed house on hand, reflecting on championships of yesteryear and trying to claim another title here in the NIT. Great to have you courtside with Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott. What a great job done by Kevin Keats and Tommy Amaker. 8 days ago, these two programs expected to be in the NCAA tournament. They have bounced back. They're playing well in the NIT.
Yeah, last week they were disappointed and frustrated. Now they're won an impressive game each in the NIT. They're 1 win away after tonight to get to New York to their own Final Four. A little psychology 101 for Keats and Amaker.
Doran baseline off the mark is Price. Taps it back to the Crimson. Interesting, too, Kevin Keats told us today he had to press the reset button after that first round win because his team, as Kirkwood connects in traffic, watched all the NCAA tournament games Thursday, Friday, and this weekend. And they're thinking, well, wait a second, we should be there, but we're not. So he had to figure out a way to kind of re-motivate the guys again after he did so before that first round win against Hofstra.
And the same thing for Tommy Amaker. After that loss against Yale, their mind was somewhere else, and their body and their mind were not together.
Devin Daniels, 3-ball corner pocket.
I know you like him, Roy. You mentioned that in the warm-up.
Had a great start to his career at Utah, about 10 points per game playing for the Utes. Transferred here to Raleigh. I think has a very bright future as Aiken stepped out of bounds.
I don't think we can understate the importance of the psychology that each of these coaches had to deal with. You have to get your team to find its purpose, to overcome frustration, to get remotivated. And then when you win that game, Kevin Keats told us today, then you watch the NCAA tournament games. Now your team starts to get down again because they're not in that tournament. So they had to get them re-fired up for this game. But if you think about it, after tonight's game, one team is one game away from going to New York City.
There's something to be said about that. There's value in making a tournament run headed towards next season. You win the NIT, all of a sudden you've got some off-season mojo.
Yeah, everything you're doing now, you're building for next season. You want to point to it as a teaching situation for your team. And anytime you play in the postseason and somebody else isn't, you start to feel good.
They can rush that shot from the top of the key. And of course, in the 2019 NIT, we have the experimental rules. Deeper three-point line, wider free throw lane. The fouls, you get the bonus after 5 personals. That resets after 10 minutes. And there's no 1-and-1. When you get to the bonus, it's like the old school double bonus. You get 2 free throws.
I love the deeper three-point line. I think the college three is too easy now for these guys, and it creates a lot of upsets, but I like to see it move back a little bit more. And I love how the shot clock gets reset to 20 versus 30, increases flow and pace.
Yeah. I think college basketball has done a great job the last few years. More freedom of movement. Offensive production is up. It's a more watchable product. Kirkwood's off the mark from downtown. And a fresh 30 for Aiken. Boy, he gets the basketball. He steps in this gymnasium. He's in range. He feels that way.
He is the alpha dog of this Harvard team. He can go for big points, and he plays unafraid.
State leads it by 7. Harvard turns it over. They're 4th.
That one's a dead ball turnover, so State can't get out and run. You turn it over live at the top of the key of the free throw line against NC State. They are pushing it right down your throat.
We now live in a world in which Duke survived against UCF by a single point. Rob Gronkowski announced his retirement earlier today for the New England Patriots.
Now that's news.
That is news.
That's news. That's big news. Forget the Duke score. Gronk is retired. That's news.
You being a Boston native, I know you're dialed in on the Pats and what they're doing.
Just winning Super Bowls. That's all, Roy.
6.5 minutes in, NC State off and running. Meanwhile, Harvard coming off its first victory in the NIT. Comeback fashion against Georgetown on the road. And we talked to Tommy Amaker about that. He took a lot of pride in the fact that, hey, we've been to the dance 4 times under my watch. The foul goes against Lockett. And you see they've won 7 Ivy League championships in his 12 seasons. So he's getting the job done. But you like coaches that appreciate the chance to keep playing.
What Tommy Amaker has done, big shot by Aiken, has just been absolutely remarkable at Harvard. No championships till he arrived, postseasons, 5 straight Ivy League titles.
Johnson feeds Daniels. Back to Haskett, who just checked in. And Harvard turns it over now for the 5th time.
Another dead ball turnover. Big difference, though, Roy. That ball goes out of bounds. Game stops. You don't score, but they're not getting 2 quick ones on you.
Tommy Amaker played in this arena back in the day. He was playing with the Duke Blue Devils. Recited several memories, and he said, you know what? Under the late Jimmy Valvano, Jimmy V, we got our tails kicked in here a couple of times. This was not an easy place to play.
We talked about how loud Reynolds Coliseum was at that time.
Johnson off the bounce, well short. Haskett, check that. Lockett lost his shoe. DJ Funderburk didn't care. He's got a chance for three.
And that's where NC State beats you and beats you up on the offensive glass. They grab that 50-50 ball with one sneaker. And then the finish by Funderburk. Great hustle by the Wolfpack.
State leads it by 6. Funderburk started his career at Ohio State, also a member of the exclusive ESPN 100 club.
Only certain people make that, Roy, now. About 100 people. And Funderburk, long, thin offensive rebounder, shot blocker. The elbow jump shot needs a little polish, but he has a lot of upside.
Crimson back to work. Trying to find their rhythm on offense. That last foul for Harvard against Baker, his first. And Aiken was able to feed Mason Forbes. He'll shoot two.
NC State putting a lot of pressure on the ball, denying the wings. They look active and alert right now.
Second personal on Markel Johnson. Forbes has struggled at the stripe this season. A very busy weekend of college basketball around the country. Second round action of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship continues tonight on TBS, TNT, and True TV. For more information on tournament game times and listings, go to ncaa.com. The Wolfpack on the women's side, led by the great Wes Moore, have a chance to punch their ticket to the Sweet 16 in this arena tomorrow against Kentucky. We're going to speak with Coach Moore coming up in the second half of our basketball game tonight. We look forward to that conversation. You got the women's tournament going on here. You got the NIT, college baseball underway, softball happening, and a packed house here for this game tonight, Coach.
Not a seat to be had in this game, Roy. Same thing for the women's game.
Torin Dorn, an offensive foul. That'll be his first. 11:56 to go. Here in our first half, Kevin Keats wants an explanation. But is Pack leading? Back inside Reynolds Coliseum, winner of this game tonight between NC State and Harvard gets Lipscomb in the quarterfinals. That game will be played on Wednesday. And bigger picture, the men's NIT continues in second round coverage. TCU and Nebraska headed your way as soon as we're done here. 9:30 Eastern on ESPNU, also the ESPN app. Make sure you visit NCAA.com, the home for all 90 NCAA championships. Nebraska's Isaiah Roby, TCU's Desmond Bain. They have something to say about the outcome of that one. More full court pressure here.
Pack wants to press you for 40 minutes. Kevin Keats will change it up. On the ball, off the ball. There's another deflection by the Pack.
Beverly, Funderburk, Daniels.
How quickly does NC State turn that defensive intensity, that deflection, into 2 points? That ball did not touch the ground, I believe, on that fast break. And brings it again. This time, changing the look to a 2-2-1 versus a 1-2-1-1.
Another steal. C.J. Bryce, NC State with its largest lead at 9. Listen to this crowd. NC State defensively, Paul Biancardi getting after Harvard.
They're moving their feet. They're active with their hands. They look up, feed each other, turns into layups. And that time, 2 on the ball. Harvard lost control. They just take it and push it, Roy. They're not thinking on defense to offense. They're going.
Wolfpack have scored 10 points off the Harvard turnovers. Nearly another one.
So if you're Harvard right now, what do? You have to shorten your passes. You have to pass fake a little bit. You have to look to attack the pressure, because if you beat the pressure, you're going to get layups. You can't play defensive against pressure. You have to go at it.
Well, Tommy Amaker told us today, we kind of hope that they press us for most of this game. We've got the ammunition to be able to deal with that kind of pressure, but so far, that has not come to fruition.
No, but Harvard also not very good. They're 8th in the Ivy League in turnovers, 16 a game. It's the bottom third of the national rankings.
2 to shoot. Kirkwood and Catchings Did not catch that one in time.
So the weakness of Harvard plays right into the hands of NC State, the turnover game.
Thunderberg, top of the key, and it's all net. Coach, that's not his game. That looked pretty silky smooth right there, though.
That is not his game at all, Roy. Less than 25%. But you know what? The fans, the pressure, the intensity gives that young man a little bit more confidence in that jump shot. DJ Thunderberg comes to set a ball screen, just pops away. Nothing but nylon. NIT three-point shot. That's 22 feet.
That's a 7-0 run for NC State.
Play with poise, play with patience on offense. Try to keep NC State on defense. Back cut them a little bit more. Screen them a little bit harder. Try to get some open shots.
5 to shoot. Aiken the step back from way downtown. He's got 6. He averages 22.
See, he makes timely shots, and he's unafraid.
Daniels, the floater. An opportunity now for the Crimson on the road. 3-on-2. Here's Chris Lewis. Big man inside. Soft touch.
NC State elected not to double team Lewis inside. And he gets with his back to the basket close in. He is a big, strong, wide body. 6'9", 235, Alpharetta, Georgia.
He also interned with Facebook last year. Became a pretty good programmer. Or coding, as the kids like to call it. Bryce connects with a mid-range jumper.
NC State shooting the ball really well from the outside. You combine that with their defensive pressure. It's the reason for this big lead.
Catching's left open. (26-17) here in the second round of the NIT. Tap back to Lewis, who never established himself inbounds. He'll turn it back over to NC State.
It just seems like NC State is quicker to the ball. They're more active and alert defensively than Harvard. And that all is playing into their offensive game. But Harvard is a battle-tested team, Roy. They go at Georgetown, McDonough Arena, where Georgetown used to play their games, and a loud crowd walk away with a win against a good Georgetown team with some great guards in Matt McClung and James Akinjo.
Daniels turns it over. And then a quick whistle, a foul, 24 in white.
And I think that's where Harvard has to start, is on the defensive end, making some stops, closing the gaps a little bit more, and then be more solid on the offensive end. Again, shorten your passes, maybe some back screens to loosen up that pressure, some back cuts, get something at the rim, play inside, paint, out.
Last foul on C.J. Bryce. Harvard's a team that is not going to be bothered by facing a deficit like this early, right?
Not at all, especially this guy right here in Bryce Aiken, 6-foot junior, played at the Patrick School. Wears number 11 because of Kyrie Irving,
who also played there.
Wore number 11. That's who he looks up to. This guy is the alpha dog of this team. Former ESPN Top 100 player, battle tested on the circuit. High school, had a career high 44 points versus Columbia.
This Harvard program has recruited at an elite level. I mean, Tommy Amaker doing things that we haven't seen done in the Ivy League, and the rankings tell the story here.
And this year, Seth Towns is out. Okay, big-time top 100 player.
He was player of the year last year in the Ivy.
So you're looking at talent coming to Harvard that wanted to or could have went to major conferences. And next year they have Chris Ledlam coming in as well, another top 100 talent. I just like the mindset of Tommy Amaker saying, you know what, we're going after the best students and basketball players.
Bryce rejected at the rack by Lewis. Lead is 7, a chance here for the Crimson. Make it 4. And here comes Bryce Aiken. A quick burst of 11 points in Harvard, right back in it.
They started with their defense. They're protecting the paint a little bit more. They're helping each other. You're getting out in transition. And if Bryce Aiken get in the open court, he can get to the rim. First, the block by Lewis. That takes defense, puts it into offense. You better find this guy right here. That is deep behind the line.
Paul Biancardi listening in on the Harvard huddle just moments ago during that last timeout. Wolfpack lead it by 4. Roy Philpott alongside of the former Horizon League Coach of the Year. What was Tommy Amaker telling his guys there?
Talked about press offense the whole time, how we have to run through our passes, and when we catch it in the middle of the floor, they're looking to back tap, so be strong with the ball, run through your passes, and when NC State switches all the screens, start to slip those screens, and when you're overplayed, back cut. We got this, fellas. Let's just be a little bit more attention to detail on the offensive end. It was an offensive press break type of huddle. So relatable, Tommy Amaker, so relatable to those kids, slapping them high five. They had smiles on their faces. They're only down 4.
In a great position, especially how this game started. Crimson in the midst of a 10-2 run. And now a turnover.
We talk about teams taking on the personality of the head coach, right? Tommy Amaker, such a confident person, such a confident coach, so relatable, as we talked about earlier. He knows his team, and he knows his team's not going to back down. So it wasn't a, let's fellas, we got to be a little bit tougher and stronger. It's nothing about that. It was more about the X's and O's of the press offense, what we could do better.
And think about what he told us earlier today about this team this season as Bassey has that shot blocked by Funderburk. He said this team is authentic. They know their strengths, they understand their weaknesses, and they've worked through all of that this year efficiently.
And he also mentioned how they're not going to back down from anybody that they play, regardless of the name on the shirt.
Kirkwood has 7, a 1-possession game.
Now, a few minutes ago, the Crimson looked like they were going to get blown out. Defense, poise on offense. A strong huddle gets them right back into it.
Blake Harris, the basket.
Blake Harris, talented kid, 55 in the white, really good passer.
We were talking pregame. You said he was committed to Washington, ended up at Missouri, and now here at NC State.
Yes, and I'm telling you what, he'll be one of the best passers next year in the ACC.
Wow, bold statement.
He's that good, but you know, he has to be focused and committed to the process to get there.
Aiken off the bounce. Juzang just checking back in as Kirkwood fouled on the triple. And Funderburk has to know better there.
And give him a chance to miss it. Don't foul them. Great contest by Funderburk. Just a little too much contact at the end. You've got to jump straight up and down. You can't jump into the offensive player at the three-point line.
3 free throws for Noah Kirkwood, Ivy League Rookie of the Year. And for Kevin Keats, he was energized today. You were on the elliptical machine. He was talking a little trash to you as you were getting going. The practice gym, which is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I had to go through my 5-minute workout on the elliptical.
You were breathing pretty hard after that, Coach.
I was breathing
no
hard,
offense.
breathing hard after 3 minutes. And Kevin Keats has so much energy for the game. He has a plan. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He doesn't deviate, but he does make tweaks to his defensive pressure. But you're never going to see this guy slow it down or play a different style of defense. It's all out for 40 minutes.
Beverly tried to spot Funderburk cutting. It'll stay on this end, 20 seconds to shoot.
So successful as a head coach at UNC Wilmington. What a great season he had this year. And that's sometimes we forget that. You go 9-9 in the ACC, that's good. 22 wins overall.
I mean, they beat Auburn, the SEC champs. Auburn's in the Sweet 16. Auburn crushed Kansas last night.
This is a very good basketball team that's getting better right now.
Lewis bothered that shot from Dorn. A blocking foul against Harvard. That'll go against Justin Bassey. It'll be his second.
I love the way State come out, throwing the haymakers at home. Harvard, you know, they stayed in their boxing stance and they started to punch back.
You got a shooter like Bryce Aiken I mean, he's practicing three-pointers 10 minutes before tip-off, past the NIT logo. I mean, that's really deep. And he's already made one from that distance here tonight.
When you look at him, too, his facial expression doesn't change much. You don't know if he's holding 4 aces or 5 bad cards.
It's funny you mention that because as Harvard was getting loose in flex time, warming up, he would drift out towards half court and look directly at us here near midcourt, and he was a stone-cold assassin.
In his first game for Harvard, 21 points against Stanford in 2016. He came into this college game ready physically and mentally, and his skill as a scoring point guard is terrific. See, there's some back cuts now by Harvard. They're trying to go backdoor, and when they switch, they're trying to slip it.
Kirkwood dumps it off Lewis. He'll shoot 2, and Thunderbird slapped him on the arm.
NC State pressuring and extending that, opens driving lanes. Kirkwood with a nice drop down. Lewis, one dribble to the rim. Maybe pump fake that time, get the defender up in the air, maybe try to get 3 out of this versus just possibly 2.
Chris Lewis, father played in the NFL for 13 years. Mo Lewis, the New York Jets. He's got 5 points tonight. He's a member of the robotics club at Harvard, which I think is just awesome.
I think he's a member of CrossFit. Look at that body, look at those shoulders. The biceps, the traps. Some good genes from his dad.
Highest ranked recruit signed by Tommy Amaker. Harvard now in the midst of a 16-4 run, and we're tied at 28.
Yeah, Chris's brother Mo played hoops at Navy as well. So a lot of genetics in that family.
Brand new game here in the second round of the NIT. Winner of this game gets Lipscomb a chance to go to Madison Square Garden. That game will be played Wednesday night. Dorn outside to Eric Lockett. And that's a shot I think Tommy Amaker can live with. And a blocking foul will put Christian Juzang at the stripe.
That was a great defensive possession by NC State. And when you play great defense, it usually leads to quick runouts.
First foul on Harris.
They were on the ball. They rotated to the pass. They helped the helper. Then they cleaned up the defensive glass. They were one and done, Roy, under defensive glass.
Second lead for Harvard, 29-28. Last advantage was at 2-0. Check that 2-1. Juzang a 79% free throw shooter. Uncle Mo now on the side of the Crimson here in Raleigh. Helms left open, an aggressive take. Behind the back for Harris. Spins it in, nicely done.
And Blake Harris has that type of ability to break you down off the bounce. Love the quick change of direction.
He's got 4, he only averages 3 points per game this season.
He's just got to be solid on defense. Can't go for steals or gamble, and he's got to play good weak side help. They need him as a team defender.
Kirkwood attacking and finishing.
See, that time Harris just got beat real easy off the bounce.
You and I thought this game would resemble NC State's opening round win against Hofstra. Kind of a back and forth affair so far. It has not disappointed as C.J. Bryce will shoot 2.
Check out Blake Harris, a little drive and kick. See him turn the corner, behind the back, splits 2, right to the rim. Next possession, he drove it, kicked to the corner, led to free throws.
You identified him last week as a player to watch for next season. I mean, you're high on his potential. We're starting to see that tonight.
He is a former ESPN top 100 player,
yes.
Just for the record. And there's a reason that happens. Guys have great high school performances. They play so well in the summer circuit. We project how they will play in college over their 4 years. And can they and will they be an NBA draft pick someday?
That foul went against Kirkwood, his first, 1 of 2 for Bryce. And a Crimson figuring out ways to not turn it over against this pressure.
And that's what Tommy Amaker talked about in the huddle. You know, he never said, Roy, he never said don't turn it over or stop turning it over. He just talked about the process of passing and catching and cutting. What a beautiful huddle.
17-5 run now for Harvard after the basket by Lewis. And a foul against the Crimson inside. Be the first on Rio Haskett.
And today in shoot-around, Harvard was doing a three-man passing drill in March, which you do at the preseason. Some coaches do it during the season. It was pivoting and passing, and I just loved it. I had a video it was so good. Guys were pass faking, and they were just working on their passing game. Now, they struggled in the first 5-10 minutes of this game, but then they settled down.
I want to make sure we describe that drill properly. 3 Harvard players in a triangle, passing, fundamentally sound chest passes, the bounce pass.
Right-handed passes, left-handed passes.
Calling out the player's name they're passing it to. I mean, this is the middle of March. This looks like a drill that you would see maybe in October.
Yeah, it was two groups of 3 in the middle of the court while the other guys were shooting. And Tommy Amaker really a stickler for the fundamentals. Look at the way State just overplays the wings. They dare you to go back door.
Inside to Lewis. Now in double figures with 10, and Harvard has its largest lead. And the Crimson turning it on here at the end of the second half. All right, what does NC State have to do to refine its mojo?
Well, they got their points on the offensive glass, and from turnovers, C.J. Bryce with a nice pull-up jump shot. Their defense creates their offense every single game. Harvard's handled it better, so NC State has to come up with some turnovers.
Aiken. 3 ball by Haskett is too strong, but a fresh 30.
A great effort.
They checked out a fresh 20 off the offensive rebound.
Fresh 20. Great effort by the Crimson on the glass.
And of course that rule, an experimental rule here in the NIT, as Aiken hit the deck hard. But how about Chris Lewis, a former ESPN Top 100 player?
Well, you feed the big fella inside, 6'9", 230. They go over the weak side help. They go over the front. Nobody in the back. The catch just punches it. Harvard up 3.
Well, ESPN and the ACC will bring you the ACC Network this August, where the conference's 15 championship-winning programs will call home. Visit getaccn.com to learn more. Back in Raleigh, NC State trailing Harvard here at home in the second round of the NIT. 36-33 with Paul Biancardi, Director of Recruiting for ESPN, Roy Philpott. Great to have you with us tonight. It's been a sensational game. Both teams shooting 50% from the floor, and it's been back and forth.
Harvard's done a nice job of controlling the defensive glass. NC State only 3 second chance points in this game. And that's where they make a living. Points in the paint, now Harvard 16, State only 12.
Beverly attacking.
And Beverly, the X factor for NC State. He's got to get going from the outside. 1 of 15 from 3 in his last 3 games, but he is a shooter.
Think about the big triple he made at the buzzer to beat Clemson over at PNC Arena about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago now.
I watched him in high school. I mean, he can just drill it from the outside. It looks like a lack of confidence, and sometimes when you're in a rut or a drought.
Bryce with 11 and a chance for 12.
And Bryce playing really confident on offense.
Well, he's got some bounce in the step. Started his career at Wilmington. He's a member of the Colonial Athletic Association all-rookie team back then.
And he's going hard to the hole. Defense looks like it was inside the restricted arc.
Second foul on Kirkwood.
Bryce 6'5". He's got great size with the ability to slash, get into the lane, rise up over defenders.
18 points in the first round victory against the pride of Hofstra. NC State makes it a one-point affair.
And every time they score or get to the free throw line, they can set up their different press. That's big, Roy, in terms of getting your defense going. It's hard to press off of misses.
Kirkwood has 11 and just committed his third personal.
I like the call. I like the call. And Kirkwood did a nice job of feeling his defender, but he dipped that shoulder. Watch the right shoulder, right there. Great call by the official.
Raymond Steins, Chuck Jones, Vladimir Boyer-Tadal, our veteran officiating crew, as Kirkwood goes to the bench. And tell you what, he really changed the complexion of this game when Harvard trailed by double digits early. Rookie of the year in the Ivy League.
Played his high school ball at Northfield Mount Herman. They have a great coach by the name of John Carroll.
Daniels connects. He's got 7.
You don't know how NC State's going to come at you offensively. Markel Johnson has been hot, but they have different weapons.
Aiken, Lewis, and somehow saved by Juzang. It'll stale miss in. Well, NC State's last lead at 28-27. They've reclaimed that one-point advantage. How much fun is this? This has been a great game, just like what we saw last Tuesday night. A packed house.
Just so impressed with Reynolds Coliseum, the fan base of NC State showing up in the NIT. Big time for the Wolfpack.
And it conjures up memories of yesteryear. The late Jimmy B. Devin Daniels swats that one away.
Daniels wants to take on the challenge against Bryce Aiken. He gets beat, but he doesn't give up. Great job by Daniels to stick with it for the block.
7 to shoot.
Oh, tough trap.
Aiken lost the handle. And a jump ball back to Harvard. Or took that back to NC State, rather.
Yeah, you know State's coming with the heat. Anytime you pick up that ball over half court, they're trapping you. Pick it up in the corners, they're putting 2 on you. You cannot relax with the basketball against the Wolfpack.
Reynolds Coliseum renovated back in 2016. Daniels off the mark, and the rebound pops out to Haskett. They reduced the capacity 5,500. The new limit here at this great facility was constructed in 1949 originally. They played ACC tournaments here for so many years, Paul. And it's got that vibe to it when it's packed.
It is so loud in here.
Juzang somehow got that one to go. He's got 4. Crimson back in front. Lockett rejected at the rack.
Chris Lewis doing it in the paint and at the rim. Great block. He's been finishing for Harvard as well. He is a true post presence for the Crimson. Smart move holding it.
2-second differential between the clocks. Aiken against Bryce. 7 to shoot.
Watch Aiken dance.
The crossover. And a shot clock violation. Outstanding defense. Well, Bryce was able to sneak past him, but then the help side was there.
With 2.6, you get a chance for 2 dribbles and a shot. You want to try to enter the ball if you can near half court.
Beverly, 1 second remaining, has to hurry. 39-38 our halftime score, in the Crimson close out the first half on a 27-14 run after trailing by 12 in the first 10 minutes.
They started to take care of the basketball, which was huge. Their defense got better. Chris Lewis inside, Bryce Aiken outside. Impressive.
Coming up after the break, Kevin Connors and Sean Farnham with a halftime report. Plenty to talk about on a busy day in hoops. Welcome back to the second round of the NIT. Here inside Valvano Arena at Reynolds Coliseum. A packed house on hand. NC State and Harvard in a good one. 1-point advantage for the Crimson to start our second half. Great to have you with us inside Reynolds Coliseum with ESPN's National Director of Recruiting, Paul Biancardi, Roy Wolfpack courtside. Entertaining first half, and NC State set the tone early. 11 turnovers for the Crimson, converted into 15 points for the Pack.
Yeah, NC State come out strong on the defensive end. They went up 12 in this game, and it was by their defense. Forcing turnovers, creating steals, getting deflections, and then runouts. They came out strong to start this game, but then Harvard started to settle down at one point. Early on, NC State was applying some hard pressure. First 8 minutes, Harvard had 9 turnovers. Then Bryce Aiken decided, you know what? I needed to make some shots. Passing and catching got better. Chris Lewis finished inside. Harvard tightened up their defense, became more confident on offense. They went to the line 14 times. Big difference in this game.
Crimson, 1 point led by 5. NC State had a 12-point advantage early in the first half. And away we go for our final 20 minutes. Lipscomb awaits the winner of this contest. It'll be in the quarterfinal round on Wednesday night. NC State very strong off the bench as always. Nearly 29 points per game coming in. 17 already this evening.
Seems like the first half was played in 2 different 10-minute segments. NC State owned the first 10, Harvard the last.
Markel Johnson only played 5 minutes with 2 fouls, a steal, and a bucket here.
State, good steal team. They get 7.5 per game. Johnson did sit for 15 minutes. Only 4 points. State only down 1. I feel pretty good if I'm Kevin Keats. I played a first 10 minutes very well. Last 10 minutes without my star.
Johnson now with 6. He had 26 in the win against Hofstra last week. Nearly another steal. Kirkwood inside. He's got 3 fouls. He's on the floor. And another basket.
And when I say star in Markel Johnson, he's been the star as of late. Averaging 20 points a game in the last 3 coming into today.
Kirkwood has 13. Beverly, a quick trigger, and that's a big basket for NC State if he gets going.
We said one of the keys to the game was Beverly needed to get some buckets. What a screen by Wyatt Walker. Just like a brick wall to get Braxton Beverly open.
First basket of the night for Tin and White, Braxton Beverly. One of the top 3-point shooters in the ACC.
And Kevin Keats told us at shoot-around, he'll be an X factor for us. He got him a shot early in the second half. Great coaching by Kevin Keats.
Baker from the corner, no good. Beverly again. Contact, no whistle. 3-on-2 fast break the other way. And Kirkwood up and under, spins it home. He's got 15.
Boy, Harvard makes you pay for mistakes, don't they? They love to push it up the floor.
It's an athletic team.
Very athletic and talented team.
Bryce off the mark, the rebound to Kirkwood.
Regular season champs in the Ivy League.
Lost to Yale in the tournament championship. Tommy Amaker has claimed 7 Ivy League titles in his 12 years in Cambridge, Mass. It's a 1-bid league, so of course you got to win the tournament to punch your ticket. Good sign for NC State here with Braxton Beverly.
Kevin Keats called this from halftime. A little cross screen by Wyatt Walker to get Beverly an open look. Kevin Keats wants to get Beverly going, get him some open looks. A little time and space is a shooter's best friend.
There's a 3rd foul on Markel Johnson, who remains on the floor, and we'll see if Kevin Keats will continue to allow that to happen.
C.J. Bryce stepped up in the first half. That's one of the positives of NC State offensively. Not a great shooting team, but 3 or 4 guys can come at you and score points.
About the crossover, the teardrop is short. Johnson gets it back. Can't connect. Back to Harvard.
Love the effort by Markel Johnson. Just stayed with it.
What's his ceiling next year? It'll be his final campaign here at NC State. What is he going to be able to do?
I think he'll be one of the top scorers for NC State. When you look at him and C.J. Bryce, I think there'll be a backcourt that will share maybe 30, 40 points a game collectively.
ACC will look vastly different. No Zion Williamson. R.J. Barrett will be gone from Duke. Wallace is at North Carolina. Kirkwood is short, somehow gets it back. Puts it up and in with a left hand. He's got 17. Speaking of potential, 10 and Crimson has some.
Big-time freshman of the year in the Ivy League. Great size, too, at 6'5".
Four-star prospect.
Four-star prospect out of high school. That means he was a high major recruit. Markel Johnson, a high major player.
I mean, he's played like 8 minutes tonight. He's got 9 points.
He was so good against Hofstra when State needed buckets against an excellent scoring team by Joe Mihalik.
Back iron for Aiken, who picked up that foul moments ago, was not Johnson. So he still has 2 personals. Alley-oop to Baker, no good, but Bassey's there to clean it up.
I'll tell you what, NC State not even paying attention to the defensive glass. Shot goes up. I'm looking at guys heading down the floor, no one committed to the defensive glass. I thought Keats was going to call a timeout.
Johnson feeling it from downtown.
Kevin Keats is livid on the sideline at his team. Wants them on the glass. I mean, nobody blocked out the last possession. They didn't even go for the ball. You win this,
State by 2.
You win this game, Roy, and then you're 1 game away from heading to New York City for the Final Four.
Aiken was fouled, but Markel Johnson has 12 points, 6 already here in our second half.
Markel Johnson sat with foul trouble in the first half. He's getting a shot off in the second.
NC State legend Kay Yao. Bronze statue just outside the friendly confines of Reynolds Coliseum with Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott. Now joined by the head coach of the NC State women's basketball program, Wes Moore. And Wes, first off, congratulations.
Hey,
big win yesterday against Maine.
Me.
First round of the NCAA tournament. You guys will get Kentucky tomorrow night here. And that's going to be another big basketball game.
Oh, yeah. It'll be a tough one. They press you from the time they get off the bus. And even in the half court, they're in the passing lanes, putting a lot of pressure on the ball. So it's going to be a big challenge for us.
On paper, Coach, who do you see as the favorite to win the tournament?
Well, that's the neat thing this year. I don't know that there is a favorite for the first time in a while.
Right.
So it's going to be fun to see how it unfolds. But you know, at least when Connecticut's a number 2 seed, you know things are getting shaken up a little bit.
It's a little different vibe this year.
It is.
Well,
poor Gino, right? I mean,
2 seed. What a shame.
Yeah. I mean, he's sucking this year. What do you say?
Wolfpack lead it by 2. Talking with Wes Moore. His team will tangle with Kentucky tomorrow night. Now, your team this year, you've overcome injury after injury. 4 different players have been lost, but yet you still won 27 games. Our question is, what's your secret?
Well, again, just got great kids, and they're resilient. It's tough when you lose a player emotionally for everybody, but, they've bounced back each time, and, keep telling them the expectations don't change, So
when you go through that type of adversity, what is the message to the remaining players on a day-to-day, a week-to-week basis during the season?
Well, the first day back after an injury like that, because 3 of them occurred in games, the next practice, I think for me, I try to be a little more, solemn, sober maybe than normal. Yeah, try to be a little quieter and respect everybody. I know everybody's going through a tough time, but second day back after that, you just have to keep saying, hey, not one person's going to fill that person's shoes. It's going to take everybody. Everybody's going to have to pull a little bit more of the load, and that's what they bought into doing, definitely.
We talked with Kevin Keats, head coach of the men's program here earlier today, and we asked him about you. And Paul had an interesting question. He said, who would you compare Wes Moore to on the men's side?
Oh, no. I don't know if I want to hear this.
And Coach Keats said, you know what? Tony Bennett. He said, Tony Bennett, head coach of Virginia. And then he said, but the only difference is Wes likes to sandbag his team. He always says they're not going to be very good, and they end up winning 27 games.
Coach Keith's done an amazing job. Last year when he came in, his first year, his roster was so depleted. I was asking him, he wanted to start a co-ed team because I didn't think he was going to be able to have a roster. And look what he did. He took him to the NCAA tournament. Have a good argument for them getting in this year as well with their net being so high. But again, he's done a phenomenal job.
You've been here 6 years, Coach Keats 2 years. What have you learned about Kevin Keats in your two years here?
Unbelievable guy. I mean, really, to work with. If something's going on in here, we need a place to practice or whatever, he bends over backwards and moves his schedule around to work with us. And, you know, we text all the time during the season about stuff. You know, I use him as a sounding board, and he's just a really good person. You know, he played Division III. You know, he didn't play the big time, and so he's had to work for everything he's gotten. So,
Wes, we're going to ask you to stick around for a couple more minutes as we step aside. A basket by Daniels. NC State leads it by 4. NC State and Harvard, second round of the NIT as our second half continues. Devin Daniels has 10 points, and NC State extending its advantage to start our second half. 5 ties, 13 lead changes so far. With Paul Biancardi, Roy Wolfpack, we're joined by the head coach of the NC State women's program, Wes Moore. Courtside as Kevin Keats directs traffic. And you got Kentucky tomorrow night. I think about Kentucky. They're a 6 seed. You're a 3 seed. Macy Morris has been phenomenal this year with head coach Matthew Mitchell. What's it going to take to get back to the Sweet 16 this year?
Well, don't forget Ryan Howard, probably freshman of the year in the country. Kid from Chattanooga. I was in Chattanooga for 15 years. Thought I might have an inside shot at recruiting her, but never could get her over here for a visit. So, great player. Matthew Mitchell does an unbelievable job. I told the story, I'll tell it real quick. My first year at Chattanooga, we decided to build a house, put sod in. Matthew was a GA over at Tennessee. I paid him $100 to come over and help lay sod in my yard. So I think he's doing a little better than that now. He doesn't return my calls anymore when I ask him about helping me around the house.
He's building a house now. So
well, don't call me about playing sod, Matthew. I'm not doing it.
The block by Baker, the finish on the other end, and we're tied, both teams with a double nickel at 55. Well, good game going here, Coach. What do you think about what you've seen so far?
Yeah, you know, I think, again, Harvard's done a pretty good job against the press here in the second half. And I thought it hurt them a little bit early, but they're doing a nice job. Very well disciplined. And, of course, Coach Keats, like I said, he just keeps doing it with smoke and mirrors, as coaches like to say. He's doing a heck of a job.
Well, Wes, good luck in the tournament. We appreciate the time tonight, as always.
Coach, thank you so much.
Wes Moore, head coach of the NC State women's basketball team. Baker, meanwhile, an acrobatic finish after the rejection on the other end to put Harvard right back where they want to be, Paul.
NC State with a lot of pressure. Harvard answers that pressure by attacking the rim, getting to the free throw line, and making some stops of their own. Tommy Amaker went to a little matchup zone, it looked like, to change the complexion of the defense for the Crimson.
Basket will count. Interference in the rim there. 57-55, Crimson back in front. So a lot happening in the last couple of minutes of this one.
See Harvard right now, Roy, they're sitting in the zone. And it's got a 2-3 look, but they match up out of it. Trying to get NC State to stand around, move the ball east and west. You can't get stagnant right now. You got to stay aggressive.
Dorn attacking, gets it back, comes up short again. And free throws coming for number 2 in white. 11:46 to go. An entertaining second round matchup here in the NIT. Well, an active night for the Rookie of the Year in the Ivy League, Noah Kirkwood. He's got 4 personal fouls, but 17 points, 4 boards, 5 dimes.
Reads the game so well. Tremendous instincts. He plays the game slow. Doesn't speed up. He's never out of control. How about the instincts to follow his own shot on that one?
Those 4 fouls costly for a player that really has ignited Harvard offensively tonight.
Well, you got to sit him right now. You can't take the chance. Game's so close. If you can keep it within single digits or keep the lead, you got till the 4-minute timeout to put him back in the game. Maybe a hair over that. One thing is for sure, Roy, if this game starts to get away from Harvard, Noah Kirkwood has to get back in the game.
Dorn, 6 points tonight. Make it 7. That's our 7th tie as Tommy Amaker looks on.
And Kirkwood also, you mentioned the 5 dimes. That's big against the pressure.
Perhaps impacting Harvard here as Beverly lost the handle out of bounds.
A lot of reaching and grabbing on that possession. Official didn't want to call anything.
Coach, the one thing you love about this game tonight, both of these teams want it. They want to advance. They want to get to Madison Square Garden. A perfect example right here.
Daniel's grabbing a little bit of arm right now, but they both get on the floor. They understand what's at stake. They can taste the possible championship.
Beverly active defensively. Packed house at Reynolds Coliseum.
That first game in the NIT is the toughest.
How many coaches have told us over the years, hardest coaching job they have, first half in the first NIT game.
Especially from a major conference that expected to be in the NCAA tournament. A little bit of a letdown, a little bit of a frustration, but NC State playing like they really want it. Harvard, they feel it as well.
Foul will go against the Crimson. That's Haskett.
See, Harvard knows they're good, and they felt they should have went to the NCAA tournament. NC State the same way. I think both coaches have done a fantastic job in rallying their team back, refocusing for the NIT championship. Because that's what's at stake, a championship, and you've got to remind your players of the purpose.
If you're just tuning in, NC State had a 12-point lead in the first half. Harvard led by 1 at halftime. Thunderberg swatted away by Lewis. That was nasty.
Great block by Lewis.
4th of this game for numeral 0. And Aiken stepped out of bounds again. Second time tonight that's happened.
Watch this block by Chris Lewis. Jumps straight up and down. Just a pure rejection. No foul. Kept space between him and the offensive player. Outstanding.
Mentioned the bloodlines. His father played for the Jets for 13 seasons. He's a big-time computer programmer. He interned at Facebook last year.
He's a big-time post player. That's what he is.
He's got 4 blocks tonight.
And that was intimidating.
Dorn launches from downtown, in and out. And the rebound to Bassi.
Harvard doing a terrific job here in the defensive glass. Love the push.
Aiken left open. You know that's going down.
Catch that. Aiken with that rhythm dribble into a wide open pocket of space. Put it in the books.
He's got 14. The spin by Johnson. Contact, no whistle. Dorn cleans it up. He's got 9.
Love the pace of this game and the push. Each team not trying to hold the ball. They're looking to score, and if they can't, they're running their offense. Going right to the main weapons as well.
Lewis puts it in.
Yeah, Lewis, a main weapon inside. He doesn't have an advantage of height, but he has an advantage of strength inside.
I mean, he's used that advantage to the tune of 16 points. Perfect from the floor as well.
Yeah, he's 61% career inside. Gets an angle and score on you.
Beverly rejected. Baker got there. 2-on-2. Haskett out of control and back to NC State. A foul on Robert Baker. That's his second.
I like the give up by Aiken, but I thought he would have drove it a little bit more, make the defense come to him a little bit more, draw 2, then give it up. Thought he gave it up a little bit early. He's still trying to find that balance between a scoring guard and a playmaking guard. You look at his assists, the turnovers, they're even. The scoring, though, is obviously the strength of his game right now. 22 a game, 40% from 3.
Baker's been active in the second half, had a big block, a big basket. He's helped stretch out this NC State defense.
Please refrain from using any air horns.
And a brief announcement here. Galvano Arena at Reynolds Coliseum to refrain from using any air horns. Coach, I'll ask you to put that away.
Hold on a second. You put it back in my jacket.
I mean, this really does have an old school feel to it.
It's loud enough in here. You don't need an air horn, too. The acoustics are great.
Johnson feeds Bryce. Back to work. Walker on the offensive glass. Shot never touched the rim. 5 to shoot. Beverly. An aggressive take. He'll shoot a pair. Now, we mentioned this facility originally constructed in 1949, renovated just 3 years ago. Actually hosted 13 ACC tournaments here as NC State moved over to PNC Arena back in the late 1990s. It still has an incredible feel. How many different games have we called here over the years? The opposing coach walks in and says, I love this place.
In 1990, I came in as an assistant coach at Boston University. Jim Valvano was the coach. Fire and Ice was the backcourt. Luciani and Monroe. And I tell you this, we could not hear each other on the bench. Right next to each other, we could not hear each other. We had hand signals. We had stuff drawn up on boards. It was impossible to communicate.
Tied at 61. Did you meet Jimmy V?
At the end of the game, got to shake his hand after they blew us out by 30.
3-ball, an air ball by Catchings.
And his brother Bobby V, ESPN 680 radio, covers the Cardinals. Does a fantastic job
over in
for
Louisville.
ESPN, yeah.
Of course, the late Jim Valvano led NC State to the 1983 national championship. The Survive and Advance documentary, 30 for 30, which has been produced for the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years. You see it every year around this time, and just seeing some of these vintage scenes takes you back in time, doesn't it?
Jimmy V seems like a guy who could have did anything for a living, right? Could have been obviously a tremendous basketball coach, but I think whatever he got into, if it wasn't basketball, he'd be successful. He could motivate and inspire.
8 to shoot for Harvard. We're tied at 61. Crowd back in it. 3 to shoot. Juzang comes up short. And a shot clock violation. Paul Biancardi will check in with the NC State huddle and head coach Kevin Keats when we come back. A good one along Tobacco Road. Under 8 to play. Tied at 61 back here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Second round of the NIT, and Paulie Buckets talking things over with NC State assistant James Johnson as he listens in to try to determine where the pack will go from here. What a game this has been. Harvard out of the Ivy League, regular season champs. Biancardi off to the races, trying to hustle to get back here to our broadcast position. Inside historic Valvano Arena, Reynolds Coliseum. You're talking with James Johnson. You heard what Kevin Keats had to say. What's the deal?
First thing was offense. They're going to run a staggered double for Braxton Beverly. Try to get him a shot. If not, they're going to get C.J. Bryce a shot off of that staggered double. He's going to play the 4 spot right here. You're going to see this stagger away for Braxton. And C.J.'s going to try to get it. He's going to pop out after. There it is.
Bryce to Walker. Double team. Turns it over.
He's got to shoot that. He was wide open. Second part of the huddle, the press. Talked about Harvard getting the ball to the middle of the floor. Let's take that middle away. Make them play back and forth basketball. Kevin Keats was like the professor in the huddle. Just diagramming and dissecting the press. Diagramming offense, dissecting the defense.
Off the steal by Johnson. Beverly nearly turned it right back over.
He drew up that play to perfection. C.J. Bryce wide open. Too tight to drop it off. He's got to look to score that.
Beverly lucky to touch the rim.
Last thing he said when the huddle broke, we got 10 offensive rebounds. We need 10 more. Toughness on 3. 1, 2, 3, toughness.
Love it.
Big staple of their game is offensive rebounding. They grabbed 19 against Hofstra. It scored them 29 points.
No, a stoppage in play. And they're going to check to see if this was a hook and hold. Take a look at that last sequence as well. You're looking for illegal contact caused by a player hooking an opponent over or under the arm. As they try to deceive the official into believing the contact was caused by the opponent. This has been a point of emphasis this year, Paulie Buckets, and we'll see if it's the call.
I like when the officials want to get it right. They've been enforcing that rule since November. There's a shot from the corner.
Welsh and Walker tangled up.
Looks like I got Walker on a hook and a hold. Right arm. Could be a double.
Henry Welsh just checked in, the younger brother of Thomas Welch, the former UCLA player.
You know, who initiated the hook and hold first? Sometimes it's simultaneous.
They're going to call that a common foul, so no hook and hold.
That's why I'm the analyst and he's the official. But I like that. It was a half a hook. Walker's given him some very good minutes tonight. Screening, rebounding. A couple of buckets inside.
Redshirted last season, a medical redshirt, so he has one more year left of eligibility. Beverly makes him pay. The 15th lead change of the night.
And NC State shoots it over 35%. They are a tough team to beat this year.
Johnson just picked up his 4th personal, coach.
Boy, they're 17-3 when they knock it down from 35%.
Check that, his 3rd foul.
Kevin Keats finding ways to get a little push-off by Braxton Beverly. But he gets the space in the time that he needed.
Noah Kirkwood back on the floor with his 4 fouls. Off the inbounds and the basket. Kirkwood with 19.
Harvard all over that drive by Johnson.
9 to shoot. Johnson, the ball fake. Bryce left open for a moment. And Daniels going up for the rebound was fouled. And if that's Kirkwood, he's done. And it is.
Tough way to go out if that's his 5th. 2 guys battling for the ball. I don't know if Daniels had inside position or they were side by side. Certainly not a push. His hands were in the air.
19 points for the Ivy League Rookie of the Year. And his night is done.
One thing about Harvard, they play a lot of guys. They've had 17 different starting lineups this season.
Daniels retreated behind the 3-point arc, off the mark. Rebound to Bryce. Puts it in off the bounce. 14 points for C.J. Bryce.
Second chance opportunity. NC State cashes in.
Crowd comes alive. Baker. That's a clean rejection.
Point blank look. You got to go up strong and put that in or get fouled. Beautiful play. Isolate Baker in the post. You're not going to get any closer, Roy.
Johnson against Baker. Beverly left open. This place ready to erupt. Approaching 5 to play here in the second round of the NIT. The winner will get Lipscomb in the quarterfinals. Aiken can't finish. Daniels attacking and a chance for 3.
NC State, you mentioned it, attacking, Roy. Daniels with a strong baseline drive and a better finish. Love the concentration as he's going down.
I don't know if NC State has discovered the recipe for this tournament, but playing games in this arena has been nothing short of sensational.
I would say the first ingredient is playing in Reynolds Coliseum. Harvard not getting to the line so far in the second half. First half, they go 12 for 14. It's been the defense of NC State and a little bit outside shooting by Harvard. Not as aggressive to the basket. Haven't finished inside as well either.
Last touch by the Crimson. Hand off to Johnson. 5 minutes remaining. Crowd will count you down.
Good defense by Harvard that time. Walker almost got called for a moving screen. State right now just relying on that ball screen. Not a lot of movement on the weak side. Harvard can load up against that ball screen and they can take the roll. They can put two guys off on Johnson. They got to move a little bit more.
Bryce has to hurry. 2 on the shot clock. And a shot clock violation back to Harvard. A big defensive stop.
You know, Roy, Harvard went into McDonough Gym at Georgetown and won that game. 2 possessions right now, they're down on the road. They've played in 2 strong environments. This team is battle-tested and confident.
Aiken against Daniels. Here comes the high ball screen. And Johnson shoved him to the court.
Coming off that ball screen, NC State's putting 2 on him. And the third guy's rotating up. That time Daniels just got a little too aggressive.
Yeah, foul be called on 24 and white. Evan Daniels, a transfer from Utah.
You can't knock Bryce Aiken off the ball. You got to try to stay in front of him, make him take tough 2s.
Aiken, a first-team All-Ivy League performer. A step back, a little up and under. Strong move, can't finish. And a foul on the floor. Juricic grabbed the offensive rebound.
What a move by Bryce Aiken. Gets into the paint. Step through, shot fake. Did everything but put it in. Watch this. Shot fake, step through. Boy, he can create his own shot. He knows how to create space.
Third foul on Walker. Bryce checks out. And somehow a little dipsy-do for Justin Bassey.
Bassey, strong, athletic, slashing guard, 6'5". Played his high school ball at Colorado Academy. 2,100 career points.
Only 4 points tonight. Johnson off the crossover.
Oh, great block out. Boy, they put a body on State on that possession.
1 possession game, under 4 to play. Aiken, wide open path, and he connects.
Toughness, quickness. Bryce Aiken. He's got a quick first step. Gets into that paint, stays low, finishes high.
16 points for Harvard's leading scorer. Daniels against Haskett. 7 on the shot clock. Daniels puts it in.
Daniels has been super aggressive in the second half. Utah transfer has come to play.
Aiken again. Clears some real estate and finishes.
I mean, he just juked Daniels. And he's going right 90% of the time. You may want to sit on that hand and make him go left.
6 points in the second half, 18 overall for Harvard. And Bryce Aiken. Walker couldn't slam it home. Chased down by Daniels. And Tommy Amaker warned to get back into the coaching box. Maybe a step across there, Coach. It wasn't much.
Watch the game, because this is a great game. NC State and Harvard going back and forth. Bryce Aiken. Look how low he gets, then explodes to finish. Right back at you. Daniels from NC State cradles it, finishes it. State up 1.
And the winner of this game will get the 5-seed Lipscomb in the quarterfinals on Wednesday night. Winner of that game advances to Madison Square Garden and the semifinals of the NIT. With Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott. Don't forget the men's NIT continues its second round coverage. TCU and Nebraska. That's headed your way next at 9:30 Eastern right here on ESPNU. Also the ESPN app, and visit NCAA.com. Known for all 90 NCAA championships. Devin Daniels has 14. A great game here in Raleigh tonight inside Valvano Arena at Reynolds Coliseum. A one-point affair. 2:25 to go. 4 to shoot. Johnson left open. Dorn tracks it down in a fresh 20.
And that's where NC State really does their damage. Offensive glass. Tommy Amaker just beside himself after that offensive rebound.
One-point game, second round of the NIT. Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott inside Reynolds Coliseum. Tommy Amaker, the Harvard Crimson, battling NC State for the first time. And it's been a highly entertaining affair.
NC State doing it just like they did against Hofstra. Banging the offensive glass in the second half. They got 13 offensive rebounds this half.
Pump fake by Beverly, a late whistle. Dorn and Braxton Beverly hit the deck hard. Both teams in the bonus.
The last two after timeout plays by Kevin Keats. He's running his actions for Braxton Beverly. Knows this guy can get hot. Good free throw shooter.
He gets warm next couple of games.
Lukewarm, just lukewarm.
NC State's going to be Madison Square Garden.
Because he is an X factor for this team. Bryce and Johnson, they get points. This team scores a lot of points by forcing turnovers, creating steals. But Braxton Beverly is the one guy who can nail it from the outside with consistency. But as you mentioned, first he has to get warm.
He's got 9 points, all in the second half. Make it 10.
State now has 4 in double figures.
Bryce checks back in. Beverly to the bench. One possession game, under 2 to play. Bassey, an open path. He takes advantage. He'll shoot 2.
Harvard so aggressive in the second half. But in the last 5 minutes, even more aggressive.
Third foul on Torn Dorn.
You're on the road. You can't settle for jumpers. You've got to go rim. You've got to create contact. If everybody converges on you, then you got to spray it out. But you got to go to the rim, try to get to the line.
One of 2. 72-70.
Each team with 2 timeouts. Got to come up with something good.
Bryce, Dorn, and the rebound to Lewis.
Great look.
Harvard can tie it with a 2, take the lead with a triple. Aiken, some fancy footwork.
He doesn't have to do it himself. Little movement. Move to help.
Deep triple. Dorn the rebound.
He's done it before.
Still a 1-possession game, a minute to go.
Last possession, State got a wide open 3 from Dorn in the left corner.
Here's Johnson, the crossover, the spin. Spots Walker, inside the bucket. 2-possession game, Walker has 4. Reynolds is roaring. Aiken lost it. Back to the pack.
Markel Johnson creates space. He's a great one-on-one player. Draws attention. Drops it down. Walker, all he had to do was lay it in.
40 seconds remain. Harvard now. Do you try to foul here? Do you try to play this possession out?
I'm going to play the foul game. First, I'm going to try for trap. Plenty of time. See if I can get a trap over half court. There's a foul.
And a quick foul against Bassey. That'll be his third. And remember, with the experimental rules, there's no 1-and-1. You get 2 shots in the bonus. That'll put Johnson at the stripe, and Paul, he's 75% from the free throw line this season.
Markel Johnson, just a clutch player all season long for Kevin Keats. Came up big against Hofstra with 26.
12 points tonight. He'll get one more opportunity.
Hope I didn't jinx him, but he is a gamer.
And Kevin Keats will go offense for defense. Bryce back on the floor. Beverly to the bench.
Don't forget, Markel Johnson sat 15 minutes first half with foul trouble.
Yeah, 2 fouls early. He's come on strong late. 1 of 2 at the line here. And a timeout. Pack call a timeout. They have 1 remaining. Don't forget about SportsCenter coming up tonight after the NCAA Women's Championship matchup between Clemson and Mississippi State. It'll be with Steve Levy and John Anderson. They'll have every angle of Duke's near upset against UCF and Taco Fall. Plus James Harden. What a week it has been. Historic in every sense of the word. We'll give you reaction from New Orleans after his last game, and basketball's greatest crossover artist in this week's SC Featured. SportsCenter, 11 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, also the ESPN app. A lot to talk about later tonight.
Got a lot to talk about in this game.
So a 5-point contest, 37 seconds remaining. What are we thinking?
Well, first of all, if you're Kevin Keats, stay with your pressure, but do not foul, stop the game, and put Harvard to the line. For the Crimson, you don't have a lot of time. You're down 2 possessions. You got to go to your quick hitter offense. And if it's not Bryce Aiken, somebody else is going to step up quick.
Haskett spots Baker. Back to Haskett, deep triple. Count it! And a big shot for the Crimson, and a quick timeout called by Harvard.
I love what Kevin Keats did. He took away Bryce Aiken on that one. But Haskett stepped up huge.
He's got 5 points. A huge shot from deep.
Yeah, there was no way State was going to let Bryce Aiken touch the basketball. That was deep behind the NIT three-point line. That was an NBA 3.
26 seconds remaining. 1 possession game. Harvard will continue to play the foul game and try to extend this one out. Crimson coming off their first NIT win in school history. A comeback victory at Georgetown last Wednesday night. NC State defeated Hofstra. Winner of this game will get Lipscomb Wednesday night in the quarterfinals.
Now, if you're Harvard, you don't have to foul right away. You've got a little bit of time to go for a trap.
For those tuning in to see TCU and Nebraska, that game will tip at 7:35 from Fort Worth. We'll take it to Fort Worth, Texas in the Metroplex as soon as we're done here.
And Harvard going to face guard, switch everything. If they don't foul right away, you'll see him foul right over half court. Good trap.
And Dorn fouled by Bassey. That'll be his 4th.
And really just 2 seconds off the clock. Almost came up with a steal.
And Dorn only shoots 58% at the line, so that's the guy you want to foul in this situation. He is a senior. He's 2 of 4 tonight.
But you mentioned it, Roy. He's a senior. And veterans step up in big moments. The years of experience pay off at crucial times. This is what you wish for when you're a kid in the playground.
Started his career at Charlotte. Has 1 more free throw coming, so even if he makes this, it's still a 1-possession contest. How about Harvard? They got to the line 14 times in the first half, just twice so far in the second.
And not to put more pressure on Dorn on this one, but if you make it, worst that can happen is a tie.
Right.
Harvard hits the 3. Unless you foul a 3-point shooter. Clutch.
Shot clock is off. Here comes Aiken, one of the top scorers in the country. And he was fouled by Daniels.
And that wasn't an intentional foul, meaning that wasn't part of the strategy. When you foul up free, you usually foul 10 seconds or less. That was a bump that Daniels, I didn't see a bump. I saw a little minor push-off by Aiken, but nevertheless, he's at the line for two. Make these, pick up full court man. Same strategy for Harvard.
This crowd on its feet.
He's shooting into a circus.
86% this season, now with 19 points tonight.
It's like being at a concert.
Dwight from The Office is back there. I mean, how do you shoot into Dwight? You kidding me?
They got fat heads. They got red shirts. And you'll hear it as soon as he touches it. Here comes the crowd. Kevin Keats with Funderburk in as a sub. Trying to make sure they get that defensive glass if it's a miss.
1 for 2 at the stripe, but the rebound. Back to the Crimson. Aiken gets it. Shot clock is off.
Three could win it.
Beverly blocked it. Back to NC State. Braxton Beverly known for his offense. The defense in play there, Coach.
Excellent man-to-man defense. He just stayed on Bryce Aiken. Kept his space. I don't think he tried to block it. He went to contest it and got the block.
Almost felt like Aiken decided to change his mind and lost the handle on the basketball.
Still had a lot of time. I thought maybe he'd go to the hole. No, he wanted to take it upon himself to maybe win it.
Less than 2 minutes of play, of course. You can check this. They're going to go over that with an extensive look to make sure it's back to NC State. We'll have a look for ourselves as well. A lot happening there in a 2-point game. Survive in advanced mode for both teams.
They missed the free throw. They put in Funderburk to get the defensive glass. They don't get it. They throw it out. Aiken backs it out. Plenty of time, plenty of space to drive it. I'm not sure if he knew the time on the scoreboard because there was a gap that Aiken could have went through.
And it's going to stay with NC State. They're going to add about 0.9 seconds back on the clock as well. So they'll move it to 7.6.
NC State with no timeouts, Roy. So they have to get this in.
Funderburk spots Bryce, who's quickly fouled.
That was big, because if it was a 5-second violation, Harvard would have got that on their end of the court.
And a couple of very big free throws now for C.J. Bryce.
Kevin Keats with no timeouts left, and if they're up 3, do they foul?
I think at this juncture you probably do, right? That's what the book tells you to do.
Which book are you reading?
I just invented. One more for Bryce.
Well, if Bryce can make this one, it eliminates strategy. Up 4, you don't touch anybody. Just stay in front. See what happens.
2 for 2 at the line for Bryce. And NC State got the timeout back after that last review, and Kevin Keats will utilize that right now.
Clutch free throws by C.J. Bryce. Makes it a 2-possession game. You're going to see Kevin Keats with some soft pressure right now. He's not going to get up there in the backcourt and speed up Harvard, but he will keep pressure on and stay in front.
You and I were here for the first-round victory against Hofstra back on Tuesday night. They announced it as a sellout that day. We found out 24 hours after that game concluded, this game was sold out tonight. And we've already learned Wednesday, provided NC State holds on here, that game against Lipscomb is sold out as well. We've talked about the environment in this arena. It has been nothing short of sensational for these two games.
It's been the sixth man for NC State. When Hofstra had State on the line in the second half, the crowd was a major factor. Tonight, same thing as well. Harvard has played an exceptional game on the road, as you mentioned, in just a difficult environment. To be down 2 possessions with 7 seconds, they still got a chance. But this crowd has lifted the Wolfpack.
You know, we saw Joe Mihalik, the head coach for Hofstra, after that game Tuesday night, and he said the crowd was the difference.
So if they can hold on, they get one more. Try to take these fans to New York City if they can get there.
7.1 remain. Harvard trails by 4. Haskett's got to hurry. The runner banks it in. Don't go anywhere just yet.
Quick timeout.
A 1-point game, 78-77. 2.5 seconds remain.
How about Hassett? Getting it up there, off the glass, Sunday. ATM still open, Roy. So what do you got to do here if you're Harvard? Steal, score. It's as simple as that. Obviously, if you don't get the steal, you got to foul. NC State, the guy that you trust the most has to take the ball in bounds. That's number 1. You're going to have to screen and move to get open. You can't afford a 5-second violation. You can't move once. You can't move twice. You may have to move 3 times just to get a catch.
What a game this has been. The 5-seed Lipscomb awaits the winner of this game tonight in the quarterfinals on Wednesday. Don't forget, we'll send you out to the Metroplex for TCU and Nebraska as soon as we're done here for more second-round action in the NIT. It's been fun. It's been fun.
It's been more than fun. This has been exciting. You can feel the purpose by each team. Harvard, NC State, they realize there's a path to a championship, and both teams have played like champions tonight. They really have. The intensity, the execution, high-level game.
All comes down to this. Pack got to inbound it, and he can run the baseline here.
Correct.
Funderburg, he'll trigger. Having a problem, dangerous pass. Johnson corrals it, and that'll do it. NC State defeats Harvard, 78-77. C.J. Bryce with a game-high 16 points. And that was just enough for the Pack to survive and advance to the quarters of the NIT.
NC State came out strong. They forced a lot of turnovers. Harvard had the lead at halftime. State responded in the second half. Braxton Beverly with some threes. C.J. Bryce, Markel Johnson, a 3-headed monster for Kevin Keats. Big-time win.
78-77, the final score. NC State to the quarterfinals. Right now, we send you out to Fort Worth, Texas. Mitch Holtis, Adrian Branch for TCU and Nebraska.